1. Busy doesn't mean better purpose over pace. Just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're doing anything that matters. We live in a world where motion is mistaken for mission. You can be running in circles and still be lost. Progress demands direction. Don't be so focused on staying busy that you forget why you started. Anybody can move, but only the disciplined, the intentional, and the committed move forward. Purpose gives your steps power. Without purpose, your hustle is hollow. 2. Don't mistake activity for achievement. Some people are addicted to hustle, but allergic to results. There's a difference between sweating and succeeding. It's easy to stay busy doing everything but the thing you were called to do. Running on a treadmill burns calories, but it doesn't take you anywhere. Real achievement requires more than energy. It requires clarity, focus, and sacrifice. If you're doing 100 things and mastering none, you're not progressing, you're stalling in disguise. 3. Progress requires pain, not just motion. You don't grow by moving fast, you grow by moving through. Progress isn't always loud. It's not always Instagrammable. Sometimes progress is slow, uncomfortable, and invisible. You got to be willing to move through the resistance, not just around it. Pain has a purpose. Discomfort is a direction. Don't avoid the hard stuff just to stay in motion. Lean into it, because that's where growth lives. 4. Discipline defines progress, not distraction. You can't climb if you keep stopping to take every call from comfort and chaos. Movement without vision is just distraction dressed up as progress. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doers. If you're not moving with discipline, you're just spinning. Lock in. Shut out the noise. Choose progress over popularity. Every step needs to answer one question. Is this moving me closer to my calling? Busy doesn't mean better purpose over pace. It's a dangerous illusion, this obsession with being busy. In today's world, the grind has become a badge of honor. The hustle has become a religion, and busyness is often mistaken for significance. But the truth is, just because you're constantly moving doesn't mean you're moving forward. Just because your schedule is full doesn't mean your life is fulfilled. It's possible to be in motion all the time and yet be stuck in the same place mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and even professionally. There's a deep difference between being busy and being effective, between motion and momentum, between doing a lot and achieving something real. That difference is purpose. You can spend years going to meetings, answering emails, chasing opportunities, and checking boxes and still not be any closer to who you're supposed to become. You can run from one task to another, from one idea to another, from one conversation to another, and still be lost in your direction. It's not about how many things you're doing. It's about whether the things you're doing are taking you somewhere worth going. Purpose is not in the quantity of your actions, but in the quality of your intentions. When you trade purpose for pace, you sacrifice progress for the illusion of productivity. The treadmill is one of the most deceptive metaphors for modern life. You can run on it as hard as you want. You can sweat, you can push, you can burn calories, but no matter how hard you run, you're not moving forward. You're still in the same spot. That's how life can feel when you mistake movement for progress. You're working hard, but you're not building anything. You're active, but not advancing. You're engaged, but not evolving. And the tragedy is that many people live entire decades on that treadmill of busyness, moving fast, but going nowhere. What you're chasing matters more than how fast you're chasing it. Speed without direction is just chaos in motion. If you're racing, make sure you're racing towards something that aligns with your values, your vision, and your calling. Otherwise, you're exhausting yourself for no reason. It's not enough to be in motion. You need to move with meaning. And meaning only comes from knowing why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. Many people equate exhaustion with progress. If they're tired, they assume they're doing something right. But burnout doesn't always mean you're making headway. Sometimes burnout is the warning sign that you've been going hard in the wrong direction. It's not how tired you are that matters, it's how aligned you are. When your actions are in line with your purpose, you'll find a rhythm. When they're not, you'll feel the drain. Life is not about how busy you are. It's about how intentional you are with your energy, your time, and your choices. The world celebrates hustle, but it rarely talks about aim. You can hustle 24/7 and still miss the mark if you don't know what you're aiming for. Passion without direction can be a prison. Energy without clarity can be chaos. The goal isn't to do more, it's to do what matters. And doing what matters often means slowing down long enough to figure out what actually matters. Stillness is not weakness. Silence is not laziness. Reflection is not stagnation. Sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to pause, think, and realign. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is the goal behind this effort? Where is this leading me? If you can't answer those questions clearly, then you're not progressing, you're just performing. There's a difference between activity and achievement. Achievement has direction, it has focus. It has depth. It's not about how many tasks you check off your list today. It's about whether those tasks are building something that lasts beyond today. 1,000 steps in the wrong direction don't make a journey, they make a detour. You can't confuse being needed with being purposeful. A lot of people stay busy because they want to feel important. They want to feel indispensable. But being busy doesn't mean you're fulfilling your potential. It just means your time is being consumed sometimes by things that are far beneath your capacity. Your worth isn't in how many people depend on you, how many projects you're juggling, or how many fires you're putting out. Your worth is in who you are becoming, and you can't become who you're meant to be if you're constantly caught up in activity that has no eternal value. Productivity that lacks intentionality is just motion for the sake of movement. You might be building things, creating things, launching things, but if those things aren't rooted in your core values, they'll collapse eventually. Purpose is the only foundation strong enough to sustain long-term progress. Without it, you're just constructing towers of sand, impressive at first glance, but ultimately fragile and temporary. Real progress feels different. It's not frantic, focused. It's not reactive. It's strategic. It doesn't drain you. It develops you. When you're moving in alignment with your purpose, you won't always be doing more, but you'll always be doing what matters most. That's the difference. Purpose brings clarity. Clarity brings discipline. And discipline brings results that last. You must learn to say no to good things in order to say yes to the right things. Busyness will present you with countless good opportunities, new meetings, new collaborations, new projects, new commitments. But not everything that's good is right for you. Not everything that's urgent is important. Not everything that demands your attention deserves it. Purpose teaches you what to pursue and what to release. Without it, you'll say yes to everything and end up serving nothing well. One of the greatest skills you can develop is the ability to pause, to breathe, to evaluate, to ask the hard questions about your schedule, your habits, your relationships, and your goals. What are you actually moving toward? Is the direction of your life aligned with the desires of your soul? Or are you caught up in an endless sprint that's taking you away from who you're meant to be? You can fool people with your pace. You can even fool yourself. But progress doesn't lie. Progress is measured not in steps, but in destination. If you're not getting closer to your true destination, it's time to realign your movement with your mission. There's a cost to confusing motion with progress. It's not just time, it's peace. It's clarity, it's fulfillment. When you're constantly chasing without arriving, you feel perpetually unsatisfied. You're always reaching but never receiving. That's because real satisfaction doesn't come from motion, it comes from meaningful movement. The kind of movement that's connected to vision, the kind that's fueled by conviction, the kind that doesn't just keep you going, but keeps you growing. Every day, people wake up and go to work, run errands, attend meetings, make plans, and yet feel empty by nightfall. That emptiness is the byproduct of disconnected motion. They've been active, but not impactful. They've moved, but not matured. They've been stretched, but not strengthened. When your actions are divorced from your aspirations, you live in a loop of busyness with no breakthrough. And over time, that loop becomes a trap hole that feels inescapable unless you stop and recenter yourself on what actually matters. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is stop moving, not because you're quitting, but because you're recalibrating. You're choosing depth over pace, intention over interruption, vision over velocity. You're stepping back so that when you step forward again, you're not just busy, you're building. And not just building anything, but building the life, the legacy, and the impact you were meant to create. This doesn't mean you avoid hard work. On the contrary, purpose will demand more of you than hustle ever could. But the difference is, with purpose, your work becomes meaningful. You're not just grinding, you're growing. You're not just sweating, you're sharpening. You're not just passing time, you're preparing for transformation. Motion can wear you out, but progressorial progress will build you up. Clarity is your compass. Without it, you'll drift. With it, you'll drive. That clarity begins when you stop asking, how much can I do? And start asking, why am I doing this? The power isn't in your pace, it's in your purpose. That's what makes every step count. That's what turns simple actions into significant outcomes. That's what transforms effort into elevation. When you move with purpose, you don't just chase success, you create significance. You can have a calendar full of commitments and still feel like your life is empty. Because fullness doesn't come from being packed with plans, it comes from being rooted in purpose. Every yes you say must align with your core. If it doesn't, it's a detour dressed as a door. Learn to discern. Learn to listen, not just to the noise around you, but to the voice within you. That voice will tell you when you're moving too fast, when you're chasing the wrong things, when you're drifting from your path. Progress is not about speed, it's about significance. It's not about how much you move, it's about how far you've come. And how far you've come is determined by whether your steps are aligned with your calling. Without that alignment, Your movement is motion sickness. You're spinning, you're dizzy, you're drained, but you're not delivered. To be delivered, you have to walk in direction. You have to walk in intention. You have to walk in conviction. And that requires courage, the courage to stop when everyone else is running, the courage to question what everyone else accepts, the courage to choose purpose over pace. Don't let the world rush you out of your process. Your pace is not a competition. Your journey is not a race. If it takes time to build something that lasts, let it take time. If it takes quiet to find clarity, embrace the quiet. If it takes stillness to realign your soul, be still. You're not here to impress people with your speed. You're here to impact the world with your purpose. And that kind of impact is not measured in steps per second, but in steps that matter, steps that heal, steps that build, steps that carry you into your calling. Don't chase pace, chase alignment. There is a kind of noise that doesn't come from outside, but from within. The noise of urgency, pressure, comparison, and expectation. The noise that tells you you should be farther along by now. You're falling behind. Everyone else is moving faster. This noise doesn't motivate, it manipulates. It makes you question your path, your progress, and your pace. But here's the truth. You weren't designed to match the world's speed. You were designed to match your soul's rhythm. And alignment with that rhythm is worth more than any finish line society tries to impose on you. In a world that worships speed, alignment is a rebellious act. It means choosing clarity over chaos. It means refusing to be dragged by the current of constant activity. It means recognizing that not all movement is progress, and not all acceleration is advancement. Alignment is not about slowing down, it's about syncing up. Syncing your heart with your habits, your values with your vision, and your calling with your calendar. Too many people are running at full speed in the wrong direction. They're chasing goals that don't belong to them, copying lives that don't fit them, and pursuing validation from people who don't even know them. In their pursuit of speed, they've abandoned their identity. And when identity is lost, authenticity is sacrificed. Authenticity is what makes your journey yours. Without it, you're not growing, you're mimicking. And mimicry might bring applause, but it will never bring fulfillment. Real alignment begins with self-awareness. You have to get honest about who you are, what you value, and where you're headed. Not based on what others expect, not based on what's trending, not based on what looks impressive, but based on what's true for you, because truth is the only soil in which your purpose can grow. And when your purpose is growing, your progress becomes undeniable even if the world doesn't see it yet. You can't build a meaningful life on borrowed blueprints. You need your own foundation, your own bricks, your own voice. That means letting go of the lie that faster is better or that busier is braver. Alignment means you may have to move slower for a while so you can move stronger forever. It means you may have to step out of some circles, shut down some noise, and silence some voices that confuse your motion with your mission. What's guiding you, pressure or principle? Are you driven by internal conviction or external expectations? Are you chasing visibility or are you chasing vision? Because the thing about alignment is that it doesn't always look impressive at first. It's often invisible, internal, and quiet, but it's powerful. And over time, that inner alignment leads to outer advancement. The problem is many people don't want to wait for that. They want instant progress, instant recognition, instant reward. But what comes instantly rarely lasts eternally. You must have the courage to be unhurried in a hurried world. That doesn't mean you lack urgency. It means your urgency is directed, intentional, and grounded. You're not in a panic. You're in purpose. And purpose has a pace. When you move in alignment, you understand that not every opportunity is your assignment. Not every invitation is your obligation. Not every open door is a divine door. Alignment teaches you to discern. Discernment is a sign of growth. It shows that you value direction over distraction. There will always be people who move faster than you. There will always be people who get more attention, more likes, more applause. But don't let their pace dictate your peace. Just because they're ahead doesn't mean they're aligned, and just because they're visible doesn't mean they're valuable. You were never meant to compete for purpose. You were meant to complete your purpose. And completion is a product of alignment, not acceleration. Think about the roots of a tree. They grow slowly, silently, beneath the surface. But they determine everything about the tree's ability to withstand storms, bear fruit, and stand tall. In the same way, the inner work of alignment might not be seen by others, but it's the most important work you can do. Without alignment, every bit of effort feels exhausting. Every step feels forced. Every goal feels empty. But with alignment, your steps gain strength. Your effort gains energy. Your vision gains velocity. Let's talk about decisions, because every decision you make either builds alignment or breaks it. When you say yes to something that violates your values, you fracture your alignment. When you say no to what's right because you're afraid to disappoint, you sacrifice your alignment. And when you prioritize appearance over authenticity, you trade your alignment for applause. One decision at a time, your direction is being shaped. So don't underestimate the power of deliberate, aligned choices. Here's the truth. Alignment is often inconvenient. It requires you to slow down when everyone else is speeding up. It requires you to turn down good offers because they don't match your deeper calling. It demands stillness when noise feels more comfortable. But inconvenience is the price of integrity. And integrity is what keeps your progress real. You can fake motion, but you can't fake meaning. And meaning only flows from a life that's aligned consistently, courageously, and intentionally. The people who make the greatest impact are not always the fastest. They're the most focused. They know who they are, they know what they're building, and they know what to walk away from. They don't let pace distract them from purpose. They don't need to be seen doing everything. They'd rather do the right thing. That's alignment. It's not about being in every room, it's about being in the right room. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Stop measuring your life by how fast you're moving. Start measuring it by how faithfully you're aligning. Because when you're aligned, even the small steps are significant. Even the quiet seasons are valuable. Even the hidden work is holy. Alignment turns ordinary routines into extraordinary results. It turns mundane habits into meaningful transformation. It turns daily disciplines into destiny shifts. You don't need to rush. You need to root. You don't need more speed. You need more clarity. You don't need to match the world's noise. You need to master your own voice. The reason many people are exhausted isn't because they're doing too much. It's because they're doing the wrong things, the wrong goals, the wrong motivations, the wrong timelines. And alignment is the only thing that can bring them back to center. This is where fulfillment lives, in the space where who you are, what you value, and what you're doing are all in sync. In that space, even the hard days make sense. Even the struggles feel sacred. Even the sacrifices become seeds, because you know that your life is not just about activity, it's about intention. And intention, backed by alignment, leads to transformation. Don't confuse urgency with alignment. The world will always try to rush you. Market trends will try to hurry you. Social media will try to pressure you. But your purpose isn't governed by popularity. It's governed by obedience. Obedience to what you were created for. And that requires listening. Listening to your gut, listening to your growth, listening to your gifts. When you listen well, you move well. And when you move well, you don't have to move fast. Every season of your life demands a different kind of alignment. What worked last year may not work this year. What felt right in one chapter may feel misaligned in the next. That's okay. Growth means realignment. You're not losing your way, you're finding a deeper way. And deeper requires slower. It requires questions. It requires discomfort. But discomfort is a signal that alignment is shifting. Lean into that. Let it guide you. Don't resist a recalibration, welcome it. When alignment becomes your priority, excellence follows. Not perfection excellence. Because excellence flows from clarity. It flows from boundaries. It flows from passion that's not scattered, but centered. You show up differently when you're aligned. You speak with more conviction. You create with more authenticity. You live with more joy. Not because everything is easy, but because everything is true. Alignment doesn't mean every day is smooth. It means every day is connected. Even your waiting seasons have weight. Even your slow seasons are strategic. Because you know that you're not just wandering, you're walking with awareness. You're not just filling time, you're fulfilling purpose. That's the beauty of alignment. It makes even the silent spaces sacred. So if today you feel behind, remember, alignment is not about being ahead. It's about being accurate. It's about being real. It's about being rooted. Progress will come not from rushing, but from returning. Returning to what matters. Returning to who you are. Returning to why you started. That return is the most powerful movement you can make, in not just motion, but meaning in motion. And when you move with meaning, there's no need to compare. There's no need to prove. There's no need to panic. You're not in someone else's race. You're not on someone else's timeline. You are on a path that's designed for your pace, your power, your purpose. And that path is not always crowded, but it's always correct when it's aligned. The discipline of direction. The danger of movement without direction is that you can spend years traveling without ever arriving. There's nothing more disheartening than discovering you've climbed the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. That's why direction is not a luxury, it's a discipline. A deliberate, conscious choice to move not just with force, but with focus. Because movement may look impressive, but direction produces impact. It's not how fast you're going, it's where you're going and who you're becoming along the way. Direction doesn't just happen, it's cultivated. It's the byproduct of clarity, intention, and wisdom. Clarity comes from asking the hard questions. Intention comes from choosing your yeses and nos with conviction. And wisdom comes from learning, especially from failure. Every stumble, every detour, every delay can sharpen your sense of direction if you let it. But if you confuse movement with progress, you'll keep speeding through red flags, ignoring warning signs, and bypassing growth opportunities. One of the greatest challenges of our time is distraction masquerading as opportunity. Just because a door opens doesn't mean it leads somewhere worth going. Not every promotion is an elevation. Not every platform is a purpose. Not every assignment is a line. And if you don't have direction, you'll say yes to everything and end up with nothing. Direction is the discipline to say no, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Focus is not just about attention, it's about intention. What are you building? Who are you becoming? What legacy are you leaving? These are not questions for the end of life, they're questions for every morning. Without them, you'll drift. And drifting is deceptive. It feels like motion. You're busy, you're exhausted, you're constantly doing. But you're not becoming, you're just surviving. Survival mode is a symptom of lost direction. It happens when life becomes reactive instead of proactive. When you're constantly responding to emergencies, other people's demands, or your own insecurities, you lose the ability to steer. You start living by pressure instead of by purpose. And pressure is a poor navigator, pushes you into places you were never meant to settle. But direction pulls you. It calls you upward, inward, and forward, not louder, but deeper. Real direction requires silence. It demands time away from the noise so you can hear what truly matters. The world shouts urgency, but wisdom whispers clarity. And you can't hear clarity when you're constantly running. That's why some of the most powerful moves you'll make won't be seen by others. They won't happen on stages or screens. They'll happen in your spirit, in your mind, in the quiet resolve to live on purpose, not just on pace. The discipline of direction also means living with restraint. That's not a popular word, but it's a necessary one. Restraint means you understand that just because you can doesn't mean you should. It means choosing depth over breadth, meaning over metrics, purpose over popularity. When you live with direction, you don't let the fear of missing out become the reason you compromise. Because what you might miss out on can't compare to what you're building with your focus. Consider a river. When water flows aimlessly, it becomes a flood, chaotic, destructive, directionless. But when it's channeled, it becomes a force, powerful, generative, unstoppable. That's what direction does. It doesn't suppress your energy, it focuses it. And when your energy is focused, your impact multiplies. You don't need to do more, you need to do what matters most, with discipline and devotion. Let's talk about consistency, because it's the fuel of direction. One intentional step in the right direction every day will always take you further than sporadic sprints in every direction. Don't let inconsistency undermine your destiny. Talent can open a door, but only consistency will keep you in the room. And consistency is born from direction. When you know why you're doing something, you can endure what others can't. You can show up when it's hard. You can persevere when it's lonely. You can finish when others quit. Direction also demands honesty, brutal, unfiltered self-honesty. You can't move toward your true purpose if you're living a lie. You have to get clear on what's driving you. Is it love or fear? Faith or insecurity? Passion or pressure? Ego or calling? The wrong motives can carry you into the wrong mission. And even if it looks successful, it won't be sustainable. Because when your motive is misaligned, your movement will eventually become your downfall. The discipline of direction often looks like discipline in the dark. Doing the work when nobody claps, showing up when nobody sees. Committing to growth when the rewards are invisible. That's what separates those who last from those who fade. They didn't just chase moments, they cultivated momentum. They stayed faithful to the path, even when it wasn't popular. They made peace with progress that wasn't glamorous. Because they understood that direction isn't about the spotlight, it's about the substance. Every day you're planting seeds. The question is, are they in the soil of your purpose or someone else's opinion? Are they growing into the life you're called to live or the image you're trying to uphold? Direction will force you to choose. Choose purpose over pressure. Choose impact over image. Choose calling over comfort. And that choice may cost you something, it often will. But it will never cost you more than drifting will. One of the most powerful ways to sustain direction is to regularly revisit your why. Your why is the compass that keeps your feet steady when the path gets foggy. It reminds you that you're not just moving, you're meaningfully progressing. And when your why is rooted in truth, no setback can shake you. Because you understand that obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're recalibrations. They refine your direction, not define your limits. You have to protect your direction because there will always be forces pulling at it. the pressure to perform, the temptation to compare, the desire to prove. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up living a life that impresses everyone but fulfills no one and not even you. That's why you need boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out, they're gates to keep your purpose safe. Direction without boundaries is like a car without brakes. You might go far, but you won't last long. Let's be clear, direction isn't about perfection. It's not a straight line. It's a living process. There will be mistakes. There will be seasons of confusion. There will be wrong turns. But each one can be a lesson, a pivot, a chance to realign. What matters is not flawless execution, it's faithful progression. And that progression is built on your daily decisions to stay true to the course you're called to. Don't underestimate the compounding power of small steps in the right direction. A 5-minute habit, a daily reflection, a consistent commitment. These are not insignificant, they're seeds of transformation. Over time, they become rhythms. Rhythms become routines. Routines become results. But it all starts with discipline. Discipline to choose direction over distraction. Direction over demand. Direction over default. Ask yourself regularly, is this taking me where I need to go or just keeping me busy? Because motion without meaning is the enemy of progress. You can be in constant activity, but zero advancement. That's why reflection is part of the discipline. Take time to evaluate, to realign, to adjust, to ensure your ladder is still leaning on the right wall. Don't let pride keep you from pivoting. A shift in direction today could save you years of regret tomorrow. There's something sacred about a person who knows their direction. You can feel it in their presence. They move with purpose. They speak with clarity. They walk with peace. Not because life is easy, but because they know why they're here. They're not looking around, they're looking within. They're not chasing everything, they're choosing intentionally. And that intentionality becomes power. You don't need more followers. You need more focus. You don't need more recognition. You need more resolve. You don't need more applause. You need more alignment. Direction is not glamorous, it's grounded. It's quiet. It's consistent. But over time, it turns ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. Because a directed life is a legacy-building life. One that plants trees under whose shade others will sit. So take inventory. Where are you headed? Who are you becoming? What are you giving your best energy to? If the answers don't match your values, your purpose, your vision, then it's time to redirect. It's never too late to change course. It's never too late to realign. The road may be long, but the direction is what makes it worth traveling. When you live with the discipline of direction, your life speaks long before you say a word. Your consistency becomes credibility. Your actions become authority. Your vision becomes volume. People see the fruit. They feel the integrity. They recognize the depth. Because direction, over time, becomes undeniable. Not because it shouts, but because it shows.